Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see if I can fix my camera. So excited. Okay, go. Sorry, guys. Hmm, share. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay. So excited. So, welcome to a special agenda. Thank you all for joining me today. This is an informative Wednesday. So, we're doing What's Up with That Help Wednesday. A lot of times we don't really know how much help we need until we need it, and we do not know what we do not know. No clue whatsoever of where we're supposed to get help from. When you receive that information, or you're searching for that information, because sometimes we don't know we need it, we know something's not right, something's a little off, or it's a lot on that we are not figuring out how to figure it out. And sometimes we do seek help, and they say, it's like when you go to the doctor and they say, do you have any questions? Well, you don't know what questions you need to ask because this is a diagnosis that you're getting without any clue about where this is supposed to go, how this is supposed to go, um, what you're supposed to do, what's your part in it. How do you know when you are missing information or you are missing how things are supposed to be done correctly? Who do you talk to? How do you know when they're doing what needs to be done? How do you get the help that you need from the people that you need to get it from? Because you won't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And that's hard for people to like wrap their whole head around. Because if you go to another country and there's a certain etiquette for how certain things are done, certain traditions are standards of communication, things that are considered polite or impolite, certain customs. If this is not where you're from and you were not reared there, and you're traveling, and maybe it's a short trip, maybe you've done your research, but there were certain things that you were not familiar with because you were unaware that you needed to check. You will possibly have a experience that for certain you will remember, but depends on your anxiety level, your level of ability to adapt. It may be a pleasant experience and something wonderful, or possibly something traumatizing, possibly for all involved, possibly just for you, or possibly for them too. This may become an international incident. Um, and we've all had those moments where we went, ooh, funny story. I had an incident one time. I was working, I was a server, moving on. Um, I had this thing where I don't know, I was young. Let's get past that. And I had a tendency to be nice to people, and I kind of bowed when I would go to the table and say, I'll be glad to take care of you. I tell them my name, lean forward, I'm going to take your order. This one particular time, there was a large group of people. Uh, didn't notice that there was an Oriental person at the table until after I bowed and we made eye contact. Yeah. For the rest, and they were not someone who this was like, they didn't appear to be raised in an environment where there was bowing. They seem to be possibly born within the United States of North America. So they appear to be offended. And there'll be those moments. And that's what that is. Kind of like when you are trying to get the help you need and don't know what's going on. So as parents, you're going to make mistakes anyway. And there are other moments when it's just more than a boo and a who and a boo boo, because it just is what it is. But today we're going to be discussing why you need certain help and what that looks like, where you get that help from. I'm going to give you one book that I've already brought up to different ones, and this has been on my site before. And this one is Autism in the Family. And it talks about how it affects the family. Your child is not something that happened to you. They're still a gift and a blessing. And there's so much wonderful about them. And we do want to reflect on that. And as parents, sometimes you can get carried away and overwhelmed with this huge responsibility and privilege of having this gift, but trying to do it properly, mildly uninformed, with a heart of someone who has every intent of protecting their child at all costs, well, because we're afraid to ask the wrong questions. We're afraid to create an international incident. We're afraid to be considered a burden. And sometimes those that do want to help us within our family, within our tribe, they are overwhelmed. They are not intentionally, I'll say, trying to overlook us or do things in a way that is against what we're trying to do. And sometimes people do step over the line with the heart of good intention. But they don't know either what to do. We're all dog paddling together in torrential water. So they may not be able to give us the help that they intend to give. And sometimes people back away just for the fact that it's overwhelming for them as it is for you. So sometimes we're alone, not because they mean to leave you alone, because they're afraid to mess things up. And sometimes people are afraid to take that step forward into something that we are struggling with ourselves. So they're afraid just like you are. But this book gives us so many answers to the resources, the approach, clinical settings, understanding and supporting our family, our parents, and children. This is a book for not just your immediate household, husband, wife, sister, brother, cousin, uncle, aunt, close family, friend. This is a book for everybody, because sometimes, like the Bible says, there are people who exist that are closer than our own flesh and blood. There are friends that are family. They've been family since the day you met them. And those that have that gift are very blessed. But it talks about understanding the experience of diagnosis, recognizing the patterns, integrating extended family and care and treatment. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how crucial that is. And it's really hard for people who have extended family or people who have an interesting family dynamic, because if you weren't fighting before, you'll be fighting then. And it's just going to be that sometimes, because having a different understanding of where you stand and getting diagnosis and treatment and what every day needs to look like for them, so that you set a structured, favorable, and peaceful environment for them and for you and for your significant others. And let's redefine what significant others are. And I know people probably get tired of hearing me mention this, but it is so key. Even if you're not married to them anymore, even if you are not having an intimate relationship with them anymore, your ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, ex-father, boyfriend, ex, whoever they once were, because you were at some point something to each other and will be interacting with each other for the purpose of the care of the upbringing of this child or children. It is key that you get on the same page last week. Not today, not yesterday, last week. I'll say that again. Get on the same page. It's not going to be easy. And you're not there to point out each other's struggles or create an environment in which um, you try to compete with each other. This is not that. This is not to worry about what you were or once were. This is not that. This is you understanding that it is now time to switch chapters into understanding that if you all are going to help this child thrive, help them to win, that you're going to have to learn how to support each other in spite of what yesterday looked like. That's what's important. Them and you all finding that common denominator, them, that boy, that girl, this sister, this brother, this son, this daughter, this niece, this nephew, to give them help. We're not here to pick each other apart about our feelings because there will be many. We are here today to find out what information we need to help this child. And this information here, the contents of this book, appreciating the effects of ASD on parents and how hard it is going to be on everybody. And sometimes just sending each other a text or writing a letter might be easier than having verbal conversation because you have a chance to write, start, ball that piece of paper up when you realize that this ain't that and you're about to go in the wrong direction with this conversation. So you can read over it and see the tone of the letter and what you thought could be changed and how you could change and how your communication pattern for the both of you or the many of you, what adjustments need to be made to help the child, what you observed that was happening with the child, what you think caused it, outside effects. What was the temperature? Was it the texture of the clothes? Was it the time that things are done? How to help this child do that in a manner in which it'll be helpful. How this affects their other siblings, if there are other siblings. If they have a sister or brother, whether they be adult siblings who have their own families, what the caretake schedule will look like or should look like or can look like. How do you all rotate? What's the process? Is there a gap in time in which you all need to, just like for instance, some people have it in their agreement within their job, what their report schedule can be, when there can be expected to come in for a call in on the job. Is there anybody else that can take their place? How do you address that particular matter? Is it 4 hours? Is it 2 hours? Do we need to let the child know ahead of time that there will be a change in who will be picking them up? And those adults need to communicate that. Even if you have to do it in a text, please try to do this without explicatives or in insults. And sometimes that happens because we get upset with each other and forgetting about the main purpose of the conversation. And sometimes one may have to back off from what we want to say and say what we need to say. And sometimes what we need to say is the purpose of this conversation is. started out with that. Start out with a compliment first. I appreciate that you did. And the purpose of this conversation is try to make the conversations, if you have an estranged relationship, one that sounds business-like, because the business that you are involved in is for the benefit of this child. Understanding how the family generally operates and how that affects both sides. Whether they're dating someone new, is it acceptable to introduce them without them understanding how this may affect the child? And what does that look like? Why is it important for the parents and everyone to be understanding of what treatment and things that are being worked on? That's huge. And then identifying the key coping strategies, like how does the child cope and how do you all cope? Making sure that you all understand too, getting your feelings and methods of dealing with different things understood between each other, and understanding what breaks you personally need, because it is not fair for one person to do all of that. But we also have to understand too that sometimes different individuals, relationships, of course, everybody's situation is structured differently. It's just like no one car has the exact same engine of all other cars. We're all different. All of our family structure is different. So it's important, though, that we understand, that we know what each individual needs, that it's interacting with the child for it to go smoothly for them, because it is not funny or kind to try to set someone else for failure by not communicating changes that have occurred, something different that's happening with that child within the infrastructure of their medication, if they're on medications, um, what's going on with the dynamic of the school arrangement, if there's changes in their dietary issues. Some of us have issues that are things that we've dealt with from childhood, so we have not graduated to the level of understanding where we get that it is not important about being more successful in that relationship with our child. And it went better for us than it did with the other person. Meanwhile, the child is the one that's going to suffer while we're trying to make a point. There is no point to be made when helping this child thrive. It's not letting someone know that this child has a new sensitivity, or they have a new stimming that they're doing. Who do you think will suffer? So they're upset, and this child is having a meltdown. You're gone and unable to be reached, yet the other person is drowning in this experience. And we're allowing that for our ego. For me, lots of things happen within the dynamic of the school system. And it was a lot my fault, and I did not realize that it was. Because a lot of the times we live vicariously through our children. So the things that develop over time, we want to say, oh, they weren't doing this at home, or oh, they're being triggered because of this, or oh, we're not certain of many of those things. And we, as parents, equate how well our children are doing with our own personal intellect, our own emotional depth and maturity, our ability to parent successfully, what it looks like to others, whether or not people see us as intellectually sound ourselves, and our own personal feelings, that we hold ourselves accountable inwardly, emotionally. almost to the fact that it has a physical effect on us over the fact that we've created a child that has sometimes physical limitations as well as emotional or mental limitations. And as many limitations as they have in those areas, they have so many gifts as well. So it's really important that as a family, we take the time to look into supporting and drawing out those gifts, not with pressure, but with acceptance and understanding. And acceptance and understanding, too, that the help that is being provided to us by our loved ones and our extended family and team is the best that they may have at that moment. And they're doing what they know to do. But it's important that we know where we can reach those resources at. And some of the things, oh my God, this book discussed so many things. Um, Helping them with transitions on page 65 of this book. And also this book again, Autism and the Family by Kate E. Fisk. And it talks about also treatment planning with both parents. And in other cases, that would be not just with parents, but whatever extended family you have and who your significant other is. Um, what it will cost over the lifetime, practitioner recommendation, and even evaluations on page 254. Parental stress and the roll up, page 55. All the way down to, and this is a big thing for me and for other parents, because you may get to that point where you feel your children need some extra um, help and support, and they've outgrown the experience of being an adult constantly under your care, and you feel that somewhere else, and it's a very hard decision to make, somewhere else may be better suited for them and for your family dynamic, because they may have needs that are, I won't say overwhelming, but they're at the stage where it might be better for them if they are in a facility where they can be cared for to the extent that your family or your team can. And there are so many options in regards to that. There are some that are partial care. There are some that are day programs. There are some that are for people even who are highly intellectual. There are, depends on where you are, arts programs. But also, for those who some level of independence they do possess, and they would be able to um, live a life that is more independent. Also, it talks about, oh, so many things. I really, really, really recommend this book. But it also has information on the different websites that you can go to. Oh my God, it just has so much. This book, please, if you don't get anything else this year, it talks about autism organizations and their websites. And here's something I recommend. It is the autismspeaks.org, and it talks about family services and their resource guide. Then they have some for Asperger slash Autism Network, and that organization and .org. They even have one for Autism Meetup. Oh, wait. Their reference panel is everything. This one is, and you can look them up. Most of them have it at we're in Dallas, Georgia, so they have it at this location, but you can look it up on Hoopla, and there are other or other libraries that you can get the book at. You can request it. There's quite a few libraries that have a copy, or you can purchase an online copy if you want to just hold this book forever, because this is one of those forever books. It talks about the different hotlines, National Suicide Hotline, but it also talks about oh my god, it's Mom to Mom, and it gives peer support, and that one is http www.momtomom.us.com. And here's one that I have been like German about now. One they would love to do it, and it's Autism on the Seas. It's cruises offered specifically for adults and families of individuals with ASD. And there's one that's on the internet. It's My Autism Team, http:// www.myautismteam.com. That is an internet-based social network for adults with children with ASD. It's just, oh my God, this book, online resources for coping. Oh my God, there's so much. Please, please, please check out this particular book, Autism and the Family. Kate E. Fisk. If you don't get anything else for yourself and your family this year, this will give you the piece that you did not know you needed. It has all the information of different programs to go to, who to talk to, about diagnosis, coping with family therapy and support, who to talk to, what are those data banks, where to look in regards to that. Oh, it's just so much information. It even gives information about other disorders. I just love this book so much. And it talks about social support. Oh, I was trying to show you got off topic as per usual. Oh, and this is it. Keeping Our Children Safe. It's a booklet for caregivers and providers of children with developmental disabilities to reduce the risk of abuse. And that is something that's a huge thing, because a lot of people target them because of their limited understanding of different communication patterns, where people are trying to guide them or groom them into doing things that are inappropriate and behaviors that are inappropriate. Or even not just sexual abuse, but physical abuse, and them understanding how to let you know what's going on and to protect them from those kinds of things. But thank you all for taking the time to join me tonight. I hope this information was beneficial to you all. And that is it for our What's Up with That Help Wednesday. You all be kind and loving to each other, even if you don't feel that you're going to receive it back, because you cannot control other people's behaviors. And you don't understand that sometimes they're going through things and aren't able to share that information with you, whether it be your child that's on the spectrum, or your mate who is dealing with it too, or your co-workers or family members or family friends who are dealing with things, and sometimes they don't realize that they're even dealing with anything, whether it be generational curses or emotional issues or mental health issues that they are not cognitive of how to ask for help with their problems. Be kind, because we love them. Our Heavenly Father loves us, and kindness is a choice. You all have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Good night.